Hey, hello, welcome to the Old Geezer Show. I'm Chris. I'm having a nightmarish time at the moment, but that's not your problem. That's mine. Good afternoon to you, I think, Algernon out there. And today we're talking about something that's a bit of a tough one. And I'll tell you why. From my point of view, it's got politics involved, which always makes me feel a bit awkward when we're doing these shows. But the reality is it's got politics involved because our politicians don't seem able or competent at getting things right. Let me explain to you what I'm looking at. One of the things I read this morning with a great deal of interest was a report from Age UK. Age UK do a lot of background work on matters of age, obviously from their name, but they do proper research and proper reports based on that. And here's the kind of headline announcement from their latest report. Take a look at this one. The crisis in the NHS is largely a crisis in older people's preventive care. And if we're to avoid another catastrophic winter in 9 months' time, we need to act now to fix it, warns Age UK. That's pretty definitive, isn't it? And the thing that they're really saying, it seems to me, is that most of us don't really understand how stuff works. How stuff works is that in reality, the government don't join up the things that we're doing. So what we've got is two systems that are kind of having a problem together. And let's explain to you what I mean. We've got the health system. So that comprises of the ambulance service, the emergency ambulance service, and A&E and hospitals. And that kind of gives us one leg of emergency services and services for the elderly. I'll come on to the reason why I'm saying that the emergency service is a service for the elderly in a moment. But the other service that we're looking at is adult social care, which means effectively people coming and helping you get dressed, helping you have your dinner, whatever they need to do. The level of social care in this country is allegedly high, but it's probably not as high as we think it ought to be. And the other thing that happens is it's not joined up together with the emergency health service, as in the ambulance and the hospitals. And let me show you a little figure that kind of demonstrates this one. Let's go to this one. Half, that's 49% of all people arriving in A&E by ambulance are over 65, and a third of the people arriving at hospital by ambulance are over 75. The proportion of older people feeling supported to manage their health condition has fallen by a fifth in relative terms since 2016, 2017, and 1 in 5, that's 21%, of over 80s have some unmet need for social care. And what Age UK effectively is saying is that if you put those two things together, you get a system in which one is kind of feeding into the other. What they're saying ultimately is that if we had a better social care system for older people that worked, it would stop many of them having to go into hospital as emergencies. I think that's really interesting. How does that work? Well, the reality is that if you're standing out there effectively getting looked after in your own home, if you're there doing your normal life, living your normal life, and you don't have any particular problems, it is unlikely that you are going to become ill enough to need to go into hospital as an emergency. What will happen is that as you get proper social care, when your carers come to see you, they will notice if there's anything wrong with you, and they may very easily get in touch with your doctor or with your surgery or with your district nurse and get you looked after, which means that you're not going to get a lot worse, and therefore you're not going to need to go into hospital as an emergency, because social care is looking after you and taking you on a safe route. Even if you're quite ill, they can keep in control of you, keep your surgery in touch with you, and that works for one and all. Now, that's an interesting one, isn't it? The other thing about it is that if social care is working properly, then social care can take proper care of people when they come out of hospital, which has proved to be a huge problem to date. And I believe still now, they're not saying how many beds are occupied by people who can't get social care to go home, but I expect that's a huge number. Wouldn't it be good if a political party, or the government better still, were to say, we can get this fixed by looking after people of an age, of a certain age. Once it becomes too difficult for us to be entirely on our own all the time, get some proper social care in. It will keep us out of hospital, but if we need to go into hospital, it will get us out faster. So it will relieve some of those extreme pressures on the NHS. Bear in mind that figure I showed you before, this one, where it says that half of all people arriving by ambulance at A&E are over 65, and a third of all people are over 75. That's a hellish huge number, and that shouldn't be happening if those people were receiving proper, joined up social care. Social care is the key, in other words, to keeping older people out of hospital, keeping hospital beds at least available, and that needs to be looked at properly. And I'm hugely impressed, to be honest with you, with that Age UK report. I'm going to put a link to that report on today's show and get you to read it for yourself. There's quite a large press release, which I'll put on as well, which kind of digests everything a bit. And that is infinitely worth reading. And I'd like to see whether we can go further down the track with this one and actually get a bit more input so that we see what's happening. Because the truth seems to me that if we were to join those services together properly, that social care for adults and older people and the emergency services, then we could actually get a better deal on both. It would probably cost more in social care, but it would probably cost less than in hospital care. The hospital care bill would go down because you wouldn't be getting all us old fogies going into hospital, when in reality, the situation could be dealt with comfortably by our local surgery, by our carers at home. Now that, I think, is an interesting one. What do you think we could go with this one? What do you think we could do to actually make this work? The issue, I think, really ultimately is getting our half-assed government to actually look at things properly and see how they would work. All they're doing, it seems to me, most of the time, is that they're firefighting with the NHS. They're trying to firefight with social care. But if they took a good look at both of those services and tried to make them work together, then we might get a proper result that would benefit not only the older population of this country, but the whole population of this country. It would make the NHS work better and be more available, and it would make social care for older people work better and be more available. There you have it on today's show. I think there's really a lot of sensible argument and discussion in this Age UK document, and I think that if you read it, agree with me, let me know what you think. If you don't agree, let me know that as well. I'd love to hear from you. Okay, I'm Chris. This is the Old Geezers Show, and we will be back with you actually quite soon.